Welcome to the Structural Engineering Podcast.
We're your hosts, Zach and Max, structural engineers passionate about unraveling the complexities of our architectural wonders.
Whether you're a seasoned professional, an aspiring engineer, or simply fascinated by the science behind skyscrapers and bridges, you've come to the right place.
In each episode, we bring you insightful interviews with leading professionals.
So grab your hard hat,
or maybe your calculator,
sharpen your pencils, and get ready to explore the fascinating world of structural engineering. This is
the Structural Engineering Podcast.
What are we doing for this episode, Zach? This is we've lived in different states for a long time.
And we're back.
We don't sit in the same basement often.
And to that reference, we are sitting in my basement, which is it's an interesting scene to do a podcast in, but here we are. So today, we both picked 5 buildings. You picked buildings that you thought were pretty cool that's been recently built.
I'd say in the last 5 years. Most of these are pretty recent.
And everything I picked is in construction or about to be in construction. So it's kind of like what has been built recently that's really cool from your perspective, and then what do I think is really cool that's being built.
I think for both these, these were articles that we saw in the last couple of years that really stood out to us, buildings that were special in some way that we remembered seeing them and they just stood out a lot.
And to announce right here, we're back.
We're back.
Back together.
We got a few we're recording right now, and we're going to be out in full.
So you guys be ready. Be on the lookout. Get those commutes longer and longer so you can listen to more of the Structural Engineering Podcast.
Yeah, I'm commuting 30 minutes now, and so it's a perfect podcast window.
That's fantastic. So Max, why don't you start us off? What's the first structure you want to talk about?
Okay, this is a weird one to start on, I know. As we mentioned in an episode a long time ago, I was in a coma for a while and not that fun. But the building that they set you in, when you come out of this coma, you're pretty messed up. Spalding Rehab Center is this building in Boston. And it is, when I was in there, I did not know about anything. I just knew it was a cool building, and there aren't that many hospital wings that the windows work. Like, it just didn't feel like a hospital. It was a very comfortable place. And now that I'm out of there and my head is back on straight, I can read some of the articles about this place. And it is so prepared for sort of an unknown future. Everything from sea level rise to high wind loading, storms, and occupant comfort. So all the windows are operational. They can be off the grid for 4 days. They have a generator with enough fuel for 4 days stored. It's just this whole building is built to just be a standalone item if needed, because you can't have a hospital going down, right? Yeah, that's my big takeaway. This thing is constructed in 2013. So I think that's the oldest one that I have, but I have a close tie to this building.
Okay.
So
yeah,
but it's interesting to be in a building that is so clearly different than your typical office building where you can't, I'm going to go back to this window stuff. Like, you can't touch the windows. It's not, the glazing is just this weird wraparound thing,
right? But
you can interact with this building, and that doesn't happen in larger buildings. And so that's a lean to the architecture being amazing here. But the structural side is what I was mentioning before, that they can run when there's floods, when there's super strong winds. They build a core of this building. There's a concrete shaft in the center that runs. Every utility line goes up towards the roof. It's completely protected 30 inches above finished floor. And that is the 500-year flood. I don't know any statistics here. I shouldn't use that word lightly. It's the fact that we don't exactly know what the future will hold. There's some climate things going on here, and that is a protected case, right? So this hospital is on the water and basically right on the harbor in Boston. And so if sea level goes up, that's a problem. And you can't have hospitals just shut down, right? These are high risk category structures.
You need them during those.
You exactly need them then. So this, the spot was available, and they couldn't say, no, we don't know what the sea level is going to be. It's beautiful. You open the windows and watch boats go by, and it's completely protected. Yeah, completely. Again, it's kind of protected from what may happen in the future. Sea level and storms. This was 2013 was sandy, I'm pretty sure. They had mentioned the architects had met on site when they were getting started, and it was right before a giant storm, hurricane. And I'm pretty sure it was sandy, and that the water was like a few inches below where the building was going to go, and that really shook the designers. Like, this is going to be a different case. We don't know where water is going to come up to, so this isn't just a shallow foundation standard structure. It's 9 stories, so it's pretty big, but it's just immediately a different building. And I think it's kind of the way we're going to be designing buildings in the future is there is more unknown about what will happen.
Yeah, the idea of like resiliency.
Yes, resilience. Yes, exactly. And this building did a wonderful job with that, kind of leading the charge.
That's really cool.
2013, like that's not. Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. All right, Max. Well, that's a really cool building. I like the resiliency side of it. Now, I've got one that's been in construction for quite a while.
Okay.
It started probably about 10 years ago, in 2025, and it's been on hold for a really long time.
Okay.
Long time. So this is
Are they actively constructing it?
They
or?
just restarted.
Okay.
Within the last couple of months. So this is the Jeddah Tower in Saudi Arabia. In 2014-ish, when they started, it was estimated at $1.2 billion, which seems kind of on the cheap end for the tallest building in the world.
They cost money these days.
Right. So the height is 3,280 feet.
Wow. Do you know what's the current tallest building in the world?
Is the Burj Khalifa.
Is how tall?
And
2,800.
Dang. So this is a good amount bigger.
Oh my gosh.
So I've got some stuff here. So architectural style is neo-futurism, and I'm sure you can imagine what that is. So it's very, it's emphasizing a sleek, innovative, and futuristic design elements. So that's kind of cool. That kind of, you can put your mind around. Our listeners won't be able to see a picture, but here's a picture of it. So it's this very kind of spire, thing. It's got this three
It basically
directions.
looks like if you took a pyramid and squeezed the base and stretched the top. Like, it's sort of triangular.
Yeah.
But very tall.
So it was designed by some architects, Adrian Smith and Gordon Gill Architecture. The structural engineer was Thornton Tomasetti, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And then so this was actually a design competition, and they won it. And then they went through the full design and construction.
Who is holding the design competition? Is this because I know historically, like cities maybe, or
to the best of my knowledge, it was the country Saudi Arabia held the competition. So I want to just I wrote down a bunch of things about the building and figured it'd be cool to kind of walk through that and see you react to some of this, because it's really cool. So even during the time in which they were doing the design competition, from what I saw, is they were doing wind tunnel testing almost day one from what they were coming up with. So the building is completely reinforced concrete from the foundations all the way up. There's some pieces towards the top, as you can imagine, with the spire where it's becoming steel, but for the most part is a concrete building. Each of the wings, so 3 wings, are seamlessly connected to the core by a series of continuous concrete shear walls, which range from 4 feet thick to 2 feet thick. And the strength of the concrete, they limited to 12,000 PSI because the contractor was worried about pumping higher strength concrete that high up. As of right now, in 2025, while they're building this, they are not sure how they will pump concrete to the top floors during construction. So they're right now, from again what I read, it maybe has changed, there is no pump strong enough to pump concrete that high up in the air.
Did they mention at all, and this is a weird side thing, but I had read in some other high-rise thing that it took like minutes to get the concrete up. Did they mention how the concrete starts to harden basically as it goes up?
These are like very custom mixes. There's a lot of papers I found on the Burj Khalifa when I was researching this that talked about the concrete and getting it pumped and the time. And
I wonder what is the cutoff? And I mean, we should know this because we've talked about UHPC. What is the cutoff? When does it become ultra high performance? Because I know that can go up to 17,000 PSI. So we're
way
definitely
higher. Yeah. I'm not sure. And that's more of a slurry, so maybe that would be easier to cast or to pump and then cast that high. But yeah, maybe that's where they'll find themselves. But I was surprised with having the tallest tower, they limited the concrete strength to 12,000. they were worried about pumping anything that was higher strength.
Really?
So
I wonder if there's an aggregate issue also, because like once you get to that strength, the aggregate is much more of a concern.
like the cement is flowing faster than the aggregate, so like the aggregate backs off. We'll have to do a follow up on that. So the building is supported on piles on a raft system, and this started blowing my mind. So it's made up of a combination of deep board piles.
Wait, can I get one more question on the frame? So concrete. I know a lot of high rises, and I actually just looked at this paper of like just outlining high rise construction, and so many of them are a super frame, is some word that this paper used a bunch, is a core system that is mostly the gravity, but then these outriggers that help with any overturning, or a steel system on the exterior. So like you picture a high rise with these big diagonals all the way up, like tons of high rises are this sort of form. And those are obviously structural and clearly important. You want that thing to be as wide as you can, to be as stiff as it can. If you're just hoping for some interior core to do all the resistance, that's not going to help at even 10 stories. You start to lose it. Yeah, what's like, does it have outrigger style, or is it pretty essential?
Pretty much every wall in the building is a shear wall.
Yeah.
And so you have, since it has kind of these three wings, at the end of each wing has these very big, thick shear walls. And then there's this like triangular core in the center, and then shear walls down the corridors, and then the walls, the partition walls abutting the two units. So everything's a shear wall.
Do they express the structure in a sense? Do you see a 2-foot thick concrete wall when you're on the 50th floor? No, yeah, that would be a weird thing of a building of that height. I think it's kind of common and very cool to express the structure of a few story building. It'd be scary with a 2,000, 3,000 foot building.
Yeah, for sure. So going back to the foundation, combination of deep piles, and they are let's see, where did they go? They're anywhere from 4.9 to 5.9 feet in diameter. They go 345 feet, and they sit attached to a very thick raft. So 16.5 feet. So just the concrete in the raft, how many cubic feet do you think that is for this building of concrete?
100,000?
635,000 cubic feet just for the raft.
Oh.
So although the strength of the ground is good, there's no bedrock for the tower to bear on.
Yeah.
So the tower's load, this was really cool, I thought, was shared between the skin friction of the piles, which are embedded into a coral limestone, and then the direct bearing of the raft on the surrounding ground. So it's a combination of the two is what provides stability for this building.
Oh my gosh.
So some other interesting things at level 168, there's a 13-foot thick reinforced concrete.
I'm going to keep jumping aside. I wonder, and I don't think either of us are going to know this number, but when we design a standard building, our little 3-story thing, the geotech report may say settlement of 3/4 inch expected uniform. Are they expecting a few feet? Like, what is the scale of how this works? And especially the high rise in LA, that is, where is
it's either LA or San Francisco.
Yeah,
Millennium
California,
Tower.
I'll say. Yeah, that's settling a little too much. Feel like you should expect there's clearly going to be some settlement, and there's so much unknown in a soil in the geotech report. You just can't know the material grade across the entire system. Getting way, way better at it, but you have to guess. Yeah, I just wonder what number they're kind of working with at this height, but I'll look it up. Burj Khalifa is expected to settle less than similar buildings. The number I'm seeing online is 2.3 inches. That's nothing.
So at the 168th level, there's a 13-foot thick reinforced concrete sky raft slab is what they're calling it. And it divides up the occupied space from the unoccupied space and acts as like a foundation for the spire above. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, we got this big raft slab. We build up 168 stories. Then they pour a 13-inch thick concrete, and then they build off of that.
13-inch?
Sorry, 13 feet.
Okay, yeah. I wonder if that's also a damping. You need more mass to keep the
Right.
frequency down if that's part of the construction.
You know, what's interesting is they never talked about anything beyond just concrete shear walls
Really?
in any type of the systems.
That is fact-checked and correct. The Burj Khalifa does not have a tuned mass damper, TMD, or any mechanical damping system. The stability is entirely provided by shear walls, including a buttressed core system, and it's high-performance concrete, so it's as strong as it can be.
So some fun facts that maybe aren't totally structural.
I'd say those are all fun, but keep
Well,
going.
some new fun facts. That was more talking the structure. So some new fun facts is that the tower has 59 elevators, including 54 single deck and 5 double deck elevators.
What?
Which was pretty wild to think. How do you fit that many elevators into a building? And then there's a feature that they added. So way up in the building, there's a sky terrace that's roughly 30 meters in diameter at level 157. And the sky terrace will be open to the public and will be considered the world's highest observatory once opened.
Wow.
And you can see it here on this picture where it's located. I mean, it looks like it's like a helicopter pad attached to the side of the building.
Yeah.
It's very futuristic, and something you might see in like a Marvel's movie, maybe. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. They stopped construction for a long time, and it's back going. So one thing, Max, I thought would be fun to ask you is, with this building going on hold for so long, what would be the things you're looking for as this building gets started again? What concerns would you have as a building that's been sitting there in some stage of construction for many, many years?
I mean, any material deterioration would be a big one, especially if this thing is not sealed in entirely. You know, once the building is complete and it's got an exterior that's not letting water in, I doubt it rains that much in Saudi Arabia. I've heard it's a dry place, but that would be my biggest thing: is what damage has occurred. Has this been completely capped off? Oh, nice. Okay, the photos. It does look.
It's wide open. There's maybe some cladding at the bottom.
Yeah. That would be. I mean, that's the first one I could think of, and honestly, maybe the only one.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. The one nice thing is it's been sitting there without a facade, so like the full wind flow
could go
to it.
through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just going straight through the building.
Wow, what a great time for an edit, because what we just said is not exactly true. Occasionally, construction loads, when the wind winds through a building, creating turbulence in every column, can be higher than just simply hitting the veneer. I just wanted to correct our quick back and forth. It's not always the case.
But anyways, this is the one I wanted to start off with, as it's going to be the tallest building in the world once it's completed. It's really cool. I was surprised to not find that there wasn't super fancy technology in the building, and that it was a pretty straightforward design.
Okay, I'm trying to think of some easy math in my head. How tall is that observation deck? Looks like it's about 2/3 the way up.
Yeah, that's probably about
So
right.
maybe we'll just call it 2,000 feet tall.
Yeah.
How long would it take if you dropped a penny off the top?
I have no clue.
Type this in. So it would take 11 seconds for something to fall 2,000 feet. So I mean, that's just the scale of this platform. You could have a sip of coffee, watch the penny fall. You wouldn't see it, you know what I mean? That's a long time. Okay.
It's way up there. So anyways, Max, that was my first building. So let's go back to you. What's your...
We're going back to the ground level. I got one high rise thing, and we're gonna do something called the Shed Art Center. I think this is built in...
We went from a high rise to a shed?
Well, yes. The Shed Art Center, architect is the Diller, Scafidio, and Renfro. This is... Okay, so before I even just get into what the structure looks like, every time I read an article, unless it's out of Structure Magazine, the architect is the only name that's ever on there. And this building really is like the epitome of the structural lead. This is a building that is in the Hudson Yards area of New York. It is basically taking up half of the building plot. So it's, picture a cube. It looks very pretty. And then this entire cube can slide over and double its space so that it has like an arena. So for art shows, for concerts that need to be enclosed slightly, you've got this temporary loading, I assume. The whole shell of the building can slide out and you create this space. So, I mean, again, this is leaning architectural, but like the reason I love this is exactly the space that you need for a building when you need it, and then it just goes away. So the building has this crazy translucent veneer thing. It's like kind of a white. Here, let's take a look at this thing.
Oh, wow.
So tell kind of why I thought this was a future building that would happen later. I looked at this photo. This is a real photo. This isn't a rendering. Like it just looks completely fake. Uh, so yeah, we have this glass cube inside, pretty much a traditional building, right? And then this translucent kind of a white hazy veneer that can slide over that and be as tight as it needs to be so it's not taking up any unnecessary space. And then this whole structure slides on rails to create a second, way larger space outside for these shows. And yeah, I'm just going to say it again. The fact that it uses the space when it needs it and then can just be this compact system when it doesn't is so amazing to me. I've thought recently a lot about the direction structures are going to go. What is our career going to look like in 100 years, right? I think
AI's got it.
AI's got it, but like we're 3D printing everything. Just so many unique solutions are available now, and this is leaning that direction. Nothing about this is a traditional building. It's solving problems in a way that could not be done, not that long ago, and I think it's, I'd say beautiful exactly, but it's very cool looking, like super unique.
Exposed structure.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a neat.
I'm curious what you think here, but done some temporary structures and you can reduce the loading, like lateral loading, wind. And I think in this building, I would assume the part that can slide out is more stable when it's over the other cube, right? So assume all the structure interacts and it's pretty damn resistant. And the cube itself, I bet you could take unlimited force on it. But as this thing slides out, it's a temporary structure. So you're only resolving the forces when they're needed. Like if there's a storm, you just suck this thing back up and it's totally fine. And this is like an assumption, but why would you design this temporary facility to withstand a hurricane when there's never going to be an art show, a concert going on during a hurricane? And so I think it's a great use of resources that you don't need to be excessive always. You need the building to withstand a lot of force, but not when it's an art show.
Yeah, the only thing I'd be interested on understanding with that is what if the motor system failed that pushes it out? That'd be my only thing I could see an HJ saying, "Hey, this has to be designed for the full force of everything because what if a mechanical system were to fail?"
Yeah.
Because usually we're not dealing as structural engineers with moving parts, right? Everything's pretty stable.
Give it a few years. This is what structural engineers do.
Right. But it would be really interesting to understand more of the design as well, like in that kind of the short direction where it's really at the base, really wide open with glass.
Yeah.
There's no obvious lateral system. But then if I'm thinking this thing is on like tracks like a train and it's rolling back and forth. So if this is trying to overturn, is there a way it kind of more hangs on and grabs to it? Because if it's just sliding on a track like a train, you push a train over and it falls over. So it'd be really interesting to understand maybe how that's working with it being so tall. If it was shorter.
Yeah, it's tall and I bet you it's pretty damn light compared. Like a building is not going to have a serious overturning force. We're not looking at foundations often to make sure that thing isn't going to lift up. If it's tall, occasionally, but
yeah. And this is light and tall.
It's light and
catch
tall.
It, so yeah, I like how it just like it slides on and slides off of the
functional.
building.
It's
really cool.
Yeah.
What are the maintenance is like on something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we're out by then.
Well, to build my next building here, to build off of yours, it's always a high rise.
Okay.
Yeah. No, not all of them, but this one is a high rise. But to build off of you being in New York, I wanted to also be in New York. So this is in Midtown Manhattan. It's 270 Park Avenue, which is also known as the JP Morgan Chase building. And it's defined as a super tall skyscraper. So this is one of the biggest buildings.
Super tall line. I'll look it up.
Don't worry, the Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat, CTBUH, has a great definition of this. A tall building goes up to 300 meters. A super tall building is a building taller than 300 meters, but less than 600 meters. When it exceeds that 600 meters, it's a mega tall building.
So the height when completed is going to be about 423 meters or 1,388 feet, which is really cool. And I think as I describe this building, you'll really understand. I'm not going to show you a picture yet, but I think you'll be like, yeah, I've seen that.
Do you know how to, I want to just throw in a scale here. Yeah, Empire State, you know how tall? Because that's like the monumental. Everyone knows how fucking, like, this is, it's a 1,400 feet. But like, just to give a comparison of this super tall building, like, this is an Empire State, right? I just like having that category in my head. That is a tall ass building, and it's 1,400. I don't know. I think the where people are is 1,200, and then oh yeah, you got it up. 1,454 is the tippy top, but people go to 1,250.
So this building, unlike the last one we looked at, which had 168 floors that were occupied, 270 Park Avenue only has 70 floors with a total area of 2.5 million square feet. So someone's going to be really happy when they get to lease that out. The architecture features a blend of structural expression. So it's really cool to be able to see so much structure as well as a neo-art deco style. I'm going to keep saying these things and then I'm going to show you the picture and I'm just going to get your wow. I'm
Okay,
sure this
yeah.
is going to go.
I don't know if I could picture what neo art deco is. I've heard the word art deco. I went to architecture school. I don't think I can remember what that is.
From an architectural standpoint, it was designed by Foster and Partners. The building will be New York City's largest all-electric tower with net zero operational emissions.
Whoa.
It'll use state-of-the-art building technology and systems to ensure energy efficiency. And I wanted to go through how they're going to do this because I thought it was pretty fascinating as a skyscraper on the level of sustainability. So the building will be powered with 100% renewable energy sources from the New York State hydroelectric plant, which is pretty cool. It'll also feature advanced water storage, reuse systems, triple pane glazing, and automatic solar shades.
Cool.
So a lot of technology they built into this. One of the I would say probably the key feature of this building is something the engineer of record called the fan-shaped columns. So to address the challenge of the building being above the transit infrastructure for the Grand Central Terminal, the engineer used an innovative system of fan-shaped columns. These columns cover, like the way I would think of it is think of all the building columns coming down and then they all collect down to one node. So they all get sloped into kind of one node. So they take 4 or so columns and bring them down to one system, which is amazing. They then rest on concrete walls that are located between the train tracks below. This approach not only allows the building to be safely anchored, but also raised 86 feet above street level, creating this large open lobby. So now I'm going to show you the picture.
Whoa.
What this building looks like. So
that is pretty cool.
So one thing that was really interesting that I found while researching this building on Reddit was someone said, what if someone takes out one column? And it was a very interesting discussion on Reddit about that. And it went back and forth on it. And most structural engineers said, hey, we don't really design buildings to take out the columns. Now there is progressive collapse, and there is design from a DoD standpoint quite often of like, you take out to make sure the Oklahoma City bombing scenario doesn't occur. So you take out a column or two, there's catenary action that occurs and it can kind of hold up. But with this, it's very interesting. They had to use very high strength cast nodes to get this all to work. And then the columns are plated sections. So really cool. There's some, if you look up 270, Park Avenue, there are some really cool diagrams and pictures, and Structure Mag's got a great article on it of like how all of this comes down and then what they did to get the foundations to work with the transit system being under the building.
That's so cool.
It's phenomenal.
The City Core Engineering Center, this is the building from the 70s, but also has, I mean, I think everyone has seen pictures of this building, but no one knows the name. I didn't either. I just Googled this thing. But it only has center columns, right? And so there's nothing at the corner. And again, like it's the what if you damage one of those kind of things? But it's not going to happen.
And that building too has a lot of interesting issues that it had when it opened.
Oh, this is why I was reading about it too. We won't get into that one.
We'll save that for another podcast. Yeah. So the other thing that's really neat with this building is the lateral system. So it's pretty traditional. It employs a combination of concentric and eccentric brace frames, moment resisting frames, and like you'd already mentioned, outrigger trusses to manage the lateral forces. These systems kind of work together to provide the necessary strength, flexibility, all of that to ensure that the tower remains stable during high winds. And I imagine, again, this is another building that utilized wind tunnel testing. The other cool thing is they use a diamond pattern bracing. So on the east and west facades, macro bracing forms this distinctive diamond pattern on each of those sides, and it looks really cool. I think when we get to big buildings and they make that exoskeleton with braces and stuff, it becomes such a really cool kind of centerpiece of the building. So if you guys have not seen this yet, and I'm sure you have because it is everywhere, especially these fan columns, you got to check it out.
Heck yeah.
So Max, what do you got next?
Okay, I've got two from Zaha Hadid, which everyone has heard that name. But her firm is super creative. They do high structures, large. They do museums, like very public structures. So this is from Zaha Hadid. It's in Azerbaijan, which is not exactly a desert environment. So it's pretty mountainous, just north or just south of Georgia. This looks like the shape of a turbulent flow over a pile of sand. So the building veneer, right, is the same color as the patio, the ground around it. So it just looks like it rises up out of there. Structurally, there is interaction, of course, like the light touch on the ground. How do you design this building? You're working with the architect so closely in this sort of case. You need it to express in some way that the architect is asking. And I just like it needs a conversation with the architect that most buildings don't. It's so detailed the way that structure is seen and becomes a part of the building. So I'm gonna show you the theater in there, and it just looks like this flowy, it's not a whoa sort of thing. It just looks so incredibly natural to me. And I think I've got another.
Yeah, I really like how like the flow comes out from the seating up and around. What would be really interesting to understand is like the acoustical design of that room, because that's what the whole building is probably designed around.
Yeah. So from the structural side, the part that grabbed me the most is that this flowy building that comes out of the ground is entirely diaphragm. It's not clearly like, here's your vertical, your gravity elements, maybe one of them is a moment frame or something. It is entirely fluid. And this is the thing, this is just so far beyond. This sound like I'm trashing an Intercalc. I love Intercalc. But like I often think there's the Intercalc building and then there's the higher level modeling, and it's not just like a fancy Intercalc. I'm gonna stop saying names here, but
We're gonna get canceled.
I know. It's just so involved that lateral is gravity. Everything works together. The building has to move above the ground. Every slip joint is important here. Like how the building moves is important to the design. It has to look like it flows out. A big part of this building just like arcs out of the ground. So the pavers on the ground become the ceiling of this thing. Here, look at this picture right now.
Wow.
And it's just how to make that interaction is so cool. And so I think, again, this stood out to me from the architectural side. It definitely provides a lot of engineering challenge, but my route is in architecture. So a lot of these I'm leaning that direction. It's pretty damn amazing.
What's the structural system for this building? Steel, concrete?
Everything is steel.
Yeah.
Definitely just a wild steel frame.
That's really cool. Well, Max, to build off of that, I went down a few floors. I didn't want to be all high rises. So this next one is called the Powerhouse Museum. It is located in New South Wales, Australia. This building, only 7 stories across 2 wings. It's expected to be completed this year, and it is really cool. So it's going to be one of the largest and most complex cultural infrastructure projects in Australia. It's designed to be a living laboratory of ideas and experiments, not just a place to present artifacts. It aims to redefine museums and engage visitors with contemporary ideas of art, design, science, and technology. So, I mean, this thing is really cool. I'm not going to show you a picture yet because I need to describe the structural system. It's over 18,000 square meters of exhibit halls and public space. Already said it was 7 stories. So this structural design, this is wicked. If you're listening right now, look up this project, this building. It has an exoskeleton. So the museum features a striking steel exoskeleton that gives it a very distinctive appearance. I can't wait to show you. It's designed for both function, aesthetic, and provides a column-free exhibit space.
I hate columns.
And you're this is me nuts. So the steel lattice, so the exoskeleton consists of 3 scales of steel lattices, creating a unifying pattern that can be observed both up close and from afar. Already mentioned that's completely column free, but take a look at this thing. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
it's got a lot of columns. They're just not vertical.
So the exoskeleton is made up a lattice, kind of think of a lattice tube system that is going back and forth from kind of X bracing, kind of chevron, single diagonals. Each level kind of changes in the height, but also in the direction of the lattice framing system. I saw this, and as a structural engineer, was just like, this is one of the
did it all
things
wrong. Yeah.
ever. No, from an architectural standpoint, maybe, but yeah. So you can see it's all steel. This is the gravity and the lateral system. I thought it was pretty cool. Definitely does not probably go along with most codes in the world. So yeah, I thought this was really fascinating. If you're listening, you should definitely check it out.
Cool.
Steel lattice brace exoskeleton system that'll be used for a museum. So I don't think a lot of buildings are built this way, nor will be built this way, but it is really neat.
It almost feels closer to the framework of a bridge, right? Like,
oh yeah, pre-World War bridge where they needed to make lattice.
Yeah, they're all like big web elements. So like a big,
plates.
large chunk of steel, but this interaction of all diagonals.
I imagine these aren't riveted together, but probably pretty fancy.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was my third building that I thought was really neat. Really the big takeaway there is the exoskeleton with the lattice structure, no columns, which everyone on listening right now is laughing. Like, yeah, every architect doesn't want columns. And once you see a picture of this, you can see it's an expensive building.
Yeah.
And they got what they wanted, no columns.
Yes, they did.
Interior. So what do you got?
All right, okay. I got one called the Interlace. It's a good name. It's a very confusing stack. And again, I'm leaning architectural because that's my roots. This is a apartment. I'm sure a lot of these are like rental, what I want to say, tourist holiday place. But it is this set of residential apartments that you could take any one of them off of this stack and set it alone, and it would just look like a normal building, right? These are all these 6-story cube rectangles, but there are 4 layers of them stacked on each other, all rotated. So picture you take your big rectangle apartment building up to 4 high, and you just throw them all in the air, and they all land in a pile. And it's the structural interaction I'll get to in a second, but this is like you get all of the housing space that you need, but you can see through every angle of this building. So like there are many parts that I'm looking at the 2nd story right now. You can just see through to the forest in the other side in every direction. There's probably no place in this building site that you can't see clearly through the building in some direction. So I think it's a really creative way to get the housing that you need, but not make it feel like you're, downtown some city with high rises lifting way out above you, and you're just in this little canyon sort of thing. This feels the most open. So that's again like leaning on the structural, but like what do you think of that? It's if you walked through this, would that feel like there's 1,000 units of an apartment above you, or
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah.
it's like you're in. Oh, what is that movie? Avatar is the movie. Okay, I want to touch on the structural side of this because it's also amazing. When we design a building, maybe the lateral is the perimeter, maybe the lateral we've got a core or something. There is no interaction. It's not like there's a core of any of these buildings that stacks vertically through clean. Everything is shifted off. So I can imagine how this works, but it's just so complex that they need As I say, the shear wall goes down on the 4th floor and then has to transfer to the core of the 3rd building, which transfers the 2nd. Everything is shifted. There is no foundation above the 4th floor ever. So you have to look at a picture of this thing. Yeah, just Google the interlace. It's in Singapore, and you would understand there's no forced transfer here. But it's just such a creative way to get the housing you need without feeling like you're using the space and giving a really cool problem to a structural engineer to fix.
I think a way to kind of visualize this building is if you took a bunch of wood blocks, you drill on the long face, you drilled holes at each end, and then you attached them end to end with a peg that went through those holes and then rotated them. And each like kind of end of these buildings seem to have this kind of spire piece that kind of goes up them.
Yeah.
And it's just like these blocks keep getting rotated, but there's this like kind of single round, piece that kind of holds them together. I mean, it's really cool.
It's when I try to make fancy like furniture stuff out of wood, this is often what it looks like, but not on purpose. And so it's nice that the architect wanted to do this.
Yeah. It looks like they execute well where yours
I would act in.
Yeah. That might not.
What do you got for us?
All right, this next one is actually one that's been completed. It finished last year.
Heck yeah.
It's the California College of Arts Building Information Project. So just called the California College of Arts. It was an addition to an existing building. It's only 3 stories tall, 82,000 square feet. And it's pretty cool. So there was a lot of sustainability goals with this. They were targeting carbon neutrality and net zero energy. They featured self-shading facades, night flush ventilation, natural wood was kind of all over the place. So there's a lot of cool things. Structural engineer was Arab. And here I'll just show you a picture before I design the structure.
No, that's pretty.
Or before I just I'm going to design it right here on the podcast. So there's a really cool exoskeleton brace.
Yeah,
system.
You got a lot of similar themes here.
Yeah,
the exos.
This is what I think is cool, really. They're all eccentric braces, as you can see, kind of giving that cool shape, and kind of you get these diamonds that are built into the exterior. From the ground level, really grade up to the 2nd floor is concrete. And they did that because they wanted this kind of indoor-outdoor workshop area and thought that it appears that they thought that concrete would be more resilient to that. And what I thought about that, which is cool, is, often with these sustainability goals, you just go, okay, we're going to do a mass timber, period. And this is what it is. We're going to do it everywhere we can. But it seems like they really put some thought behind it of, we'll do mass timber where it makes the most sense. And maybe at grade level with having this indoor-outdoor space and thinking through like how to make sure this wood stays good for a long time.
Resilience sort of.
And the resilience of it, they added concrete. I'm sure there's probably some other considerations. That's just purely a guess, but really cool exoskeleton here. 2-story mass timber kind of pavilion, art studios, etc. It also seems like there's on the 2nd level there, maybe there's some trees and stuff planted. So another good reason probably to have concrete there. It turned out to be a really cool building. I think with that, the more recent excitement of mass timber, and then in high seismic with this exterior brace frame system, it turned out as a really cool building.
Yeah, that thing is gorgeous. I mean, that is amazing.
So on our last project here, we both utilized the same building.
Yeah, finally. Is this a future building or is this a current building?
This is definitely a future building. Another structural engineer's Arab. So what was the name of this one, Max?
Yes. Shenzhen Bay Super Headquarters.
Yeah, so it's got a total square footage of 440,000 square meters, so 4.7 million square feet.
And this is my other Zaha Hadid. This is my overlap here. And again, the thing that really attracted me is the architectural side of this it's hard to make a high rise feel natural, like it just belongs.
Totally.
There's some photos of the base of this building, and it just is so open. So there are 2 very tall towers. I think the 400 meters was the 400 meters, so 1312 was the tallest one, but they interact about mid-height. How would you describe that? I don't know.
It looks like there's 2 towers that have some separation a little bit,
They're
and then they
they're
hug
like
each
wrapped
other.
in a towel, or hug each other. Yes,
They
there's
kind of grab each other from like an like from the outside, and it seems like between the two is still open straight down, and then it seems like they have these kind of terrace levels at the bottom that has a lot of green space and trees, and it's like this combination of interior exterior throughout the whole building. From the pictures here too, it looks like they're using like a very light colors and stuff, so it really kind of is inviting, an inviting building.
That's exactly the word. It's an inviting 2,000-foot tall building that doesn't happen. That
No. And it looks like it'll be built, expected completion in 2027. So 2 years away,
let's buy tickets.
which would be really cool. We should buy tickets now. I like that.
Okay, so from the structural side, this is an exoskeleton building, right? So the tower features an exoskeleton with double insulated unitized glass curtain wall. The glazing steps as vertical channels for self-shading and incorporates ventilated registers and the channels to draw outside air through the operable cavities. It's again an architectural system or mechanical. I don't know which category this would exactly fall in, but just so cool to make a building of this scale work with that efficiency.
So another way of like kind of talking about the public spaces, like I was trying to mention at the more ground floor, is it's a step podiums that are kind of integrates this park idea to create new public space, providing direct pedestrian access and really a lot of daylighting to the building. Public transportation has been thought through of how that kind of all incorporates. So I think like it's a tall building, it's a cool structural system. It incorporates a lot of sustainability and a lot of thought. That's what I found with a lot of these newer buildings is there seems to be a lot more thought put into the building beyond just let's have floor space for people to come lease.
Yeah.
There's a lot more, thought of how do we become more sustainable from a mechanical system. So heating, cooling loads to the building, and using more innovative systems. So
And
pretty cool.
it seems like, I mean, especially this building pushes the interaction of like the person with the building, right?
Yeah.
It's not just you go through the door and sit down in your office or your apartment or whatever. It's the community can interact with this structure. It's a lot of it is public. It's beautiful.
Something else I always think of too, there's many towers in the world that do this where there's kind of two buildings and they connect them. Running the lateral design on one building is always interesting. I'm curious how the wind tunnel testing was affected by these two buildings kind of hugging each other, what that looked like. I'm sure you get these weird forces and weird directions concurrent with others.
Yeah, so from the wind tunnel side, I bet this thing is absolutely wild. I would assume that the structures don't interact at all. So they do seem to touch, but I don't think that any occupiable space is in the pass through. So it's, I would guess, a sort of movable web that goes around like the towel thing that I'd said before. It looks like two people in a towel. Like I bet the towel skin of this is pretty flexible because you can't be transferring force in this sort of way would be a really weird structural system that would be more complicated than I think it deserves to be. So I'm assuming that they are purposely designed to be very flexible. I had looked like a high-rise deflection, is outside of the standard codified H over any number you want to choose. But I'd Google this. Eng Tips, of course, had some fun articles on this. But an H over 400 might be pretty reasonable. So this this interaction of the two buildings is 500 feet tall. Like you're talking basically a foot of movement there that I assume can't be transferring forces back and forth between this web of the buildings. And the force would be massive of a 2,000-foot tall building just swaying in the wind.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's purposefully pretty flexible.
Well, that will wrap up our 10, really 9 buildings since we shared the last one. I think, I'll speak for Max and I both. If this was a little bit of a rough episode, we're just getting back into it. We're really excited. We have a bunch of cool episodes coming up, some cool people we're going to interview and get kind of back into that technical level of episodes.
Heck yeah. Well, hope you enjoy. We'll talk to you soon.
Later.